18 years ago, when my daughter Grania was a toddler, we had a dedication ritual for her at First Universalist Church. It was the first time that my Catholic parents and siblings and other family members would be setting foot in a UU church. I'd been a UU for about a year and a half at that point, and I was still figuring out if I was safe, if I could trust the clergy and the theology of my newfound spiritual home. I still didn't know exactly how to explain who we were or how we fit into the context of other denominations. And to be honest, as the mother of 2 little children, I was largely there at that point to find community. For some reason, the baby dedication was scheduled for a stewardship Sunday. All the songs and readings and the sermon were centered on why people should give money to the church. So that was my extended family's first exposure to a UU church. I don't know how they perceived it, but I was cringing. I carry that memory with me today with the awareness that we have many new faces here today and probably some online, checking us out and wondering, what is this strange denomination without a creed and with such a long and unwieldy name? Well, that's the million-dollar question we are all striving to answer, and I'm still answering 20 years later. It's the question that members of the Article 2 Commission and many UUs are currently delving into in our attempts to update our bylaws and our statements of faith. This denomination is an unfolding of consciousness and culture change. It is an exploration of possibilities. It's alive just like we are, and it grows at the pace that we grow. I suspect my family's first impressions of Unitarian Universalism that we are money-focused, but really we aren't. I did arrive here by private jet, but this church did not provide me a landing strip. Just saying, we're very modest here. And money is a tool. Money is a channel for energy, a necessary cornerstone of our work to build beloved community, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just true. The finances of this church are public information. And if you choose to look at the current and historical income and expenses of Columbine Church over the last 30 years, you will see a fiscally conservative track record and currently a bare-bones budget. For 30 years, Columbine's lay leadership have been very responsible with money. At this church, if we want some food, we bring it to share. Volunteers fix things and build things, and together we keep our expenses down. This church has paid off loans and made investments and kept savings. But the last couple of years have gotten tighter. This church is still on the rebound from the pandemic and other challenges, but still we've done really well with what we've got. We've had some exceptionally amazing luck, a big blessing that our staff is exceptional. Our religious educator is a fully credentialed minister, having attended Iliff Seminary with Reverend Jeannie 10 years ago, and with 10 years experience in parish leadership. Reverend Alwyn is very well trained and more than qualified for her ministry here. She's rebuilt our faith development program from the ground up, working with lay leaders to create an excellent faith development program for adults, children, and youth. Her position is just 15 hours a week, and yet she's done wonders. And her wages are almost at the bottom, or no, her wages do meet the bottom of the old UUA recommendations, but are below the Colorado Cost of Living Index. What a blessing that Reverend Alwyn found us. Just over a year ago, we were having a hard time finding someone to be our faith development coordinator, so I posted the position on the Lakewood Facebook Moms group. Then, this is how, we were putting the tentacles out everywhere. I talked to other parents, former teachers from Open School, anybody I could think of. expecting to have to explain what a Unitarian Universalist was to a new faith development coordinator. That's not really ideal, but we needed somebody. And then the heavens parted and angels sang, and this incredible resume came my way. I literally almost cried. Reverend Alwyn she has stayed with us because she wanted to be here, and she's here because she loves the freedom and inclusivity of our UU faith. And I think she likes Columbine too. And she's one of the reasons that this church is growing. We have young families coming back again and again. Our youth group is really thriving. And we have big church level religious education here. Then there's our music program, which special music today Leah did a fantastic job of reinforcing what I'm going to tell you today. Big churches don't have anything on our music program. Our choir and the beauty and the quality that Leah Tracy, our music director, brings to this church is incredible. Leah came to us a year and a half ago with an astoundingly high quality education and experience in composing and performing, some of it during pandemic times. Leah and I were educated during the start of social distancing. We had to learn with our professors and mentors how to do ministry and music remotely. The pandemic equipped Leah to come to Columbine and work with the board to adapt to the strange new world of remote and multi-platform church. So right off the bat when she started, we asked her to help us manage some of these emerging technology needs. So for the first few months, Leah didn't get to conduct a choir or do all the music things, but she's always been a capable problem solver and helped us get to a place where volunteers and members with a little training can run multi-platform worship or small group meetings. Leah guided us to this on a shoestring budget and, most importantly, with kindness and generosity of heart. We are blessed to have Leah here. Makes me want to cry. Because of her, our choir has doubled in size, and our music offerings are on par with a large congregation. And Leah also works for very little money. Now, I don't say this with any malice, because the board has been generous and responsive and worked really hard to accommodate staff requests. They've done wonders with what money the church has had to offer. And this is a generous congregation. Last year, members of Columbine were generous in investing to improve our outdoor space, put this door in here, and make sure also that the staff had a cost of living raise. The boards worked hard to make sure that we meet the criteria of the UUA suggested wages for staff. And that's really important because we want to keep our fantastic office administrator, Sarah, who was here today, which is amazing, who does a stellar job of keeping this place running. I'm usually, I tell people, I'm like, you know, we should do, and then Sarah's done it already. So it's amazing. And then, of course, our accompanist of many years who doesn't like to have the attention put on her, but MJ, who is so wonderful as well. Sorry, MJ. The HR gods have smiled upon this church. We even have Tex and Diane in our nursery who have years of experience and training and this beautiful heart for the children. And parents of young children notice this and have come up to me and commented on our nursery workers. I mean, we're really doing very blessed here. See, young families need community, and young families and young adults are vital to the sustainability of any church because beloved community is multi-generational. We need to grow our membership, and having such a skilled team of staff here is one of our best tools to maintain the vitality of this church. I used to think that contributing to my UU church was just paying for kind of my enjoyment of something we had created for ourselves to enjoy and benefit from. But now, years later, I really get it, that contributing to this church is a good way to make the world a better place. Columbine is, excuse me, Columbine's where many of our members who are engaged in social justice work come here to the Oasis to get recharged. People in this church do so many things. Some of us mentor youth who have a gun charge on their record. Some work with people just coming out of prison, with immigrants, and with people experiencing homelessness. Columbine folks work with legislators and school boards and other nonprofits to ensure that compassionate and just legislation and leaders are voted in. This is a place where we gather to share ideas and support one another in Just Act, dismantling racism, in worship, in our book reads and films and small groups, and I won't go on and on, but I could. The calendar here is full of amazing things. This place allows our messages to be amplified so that we can speak truth to power. The structure of the UU Church gives us a structure to do work amplifying our voices. This is why I wear a collar and a stole when I go downtown to march for UU values. Because the whole of this thing we have created is greater than the sum of the parts when it comes to being an influence and changing the world. That's the big circle of Columbine's place in the world. But the next concentric circle is what Columbine does for Littleton, getting our local police to train with the active bystandership program and reaching out into the local community. This little building with our rainbow flag and our Black Lives Matter banner strives to be an oasis for people with marginalized identity. It's a place where we strive to live into our covenants to create a safe and welcoming space for people of all identities. And it's the lifeblood of this church that we answer this call, our call to grow into multiculturalism and to celebrate our differences. And then the next circle, we come here as individuals, learning ways to help recharge and connect with spirit and with something larger than ourselves. This is where we might come to meditate at the new moon or learn about prayer or learn from each other how to recharge our batteries as caregivers and as human beings. We work together here to create a safe space. Now, we don't always hit the mark. We tend towards perfectionism. Sometimes we forget to listen to each other. We make mistakes, sometimes speaking with good intentions but causing harm. Sometimes we don't live into our covenants, and that's okay. When I looked for a church to serve, I didn't look for a perfect church. I looked for open-hearted, willing people with a desire to grow. And I found that here. Columbine is united by a desire and commitment to do better. You are here because you care about other people and about the world. You're here to learn to have conversations that might be uncomfortable, but allow us to come out the other side. Honesty. Honesty is how we will build beloved community. And at this church, we are working for culture change. We're learning about the richness that comes from committing to something, even if it's hard. So you are invited to bring your whole self here. Stupid comments, dumb jokes, unconscious microaggressions, moments of short temper, or even big mistakes, bring them. Sometimes you'll feel hurt feelings or irritation or embarrassment. Sometimes you'll make mistakes that other people notice. It sounds like a fate worse than death, but I am living proof that it is not. It is actually the pathway to liberation and to connection with others, to be willing to put ourselves out there. If I can stand up here and last week forget the words chalice lighting in front of dozens of people, then you can do it too. And that's just the cutest of my mistakes. I'm full of mistakes. I forget things, I accidentally hurt people's feelings, and I do it all publicly. So you're welcome. Sometimes I find myself cringing at the stupid things I've said or done, and it's painful. But you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it for all of us to just learn to love ourselves just the way we are. Because this church is a rock tumbler. It's the place we get to come and bump into each other and knock off the rough edges. It's the place we come to learn to forgive ourselves and to love ourselves and to forgive and love one another. May the joy and love that we share here shine as a beacon into the wider world, and may Columbine continue into the future as a sanctuary where people can come to heal and to grow. Blessed be, and may it be so.